Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single episode of Pour Your Heart Out, Black Women's Honest Conversations. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. To grab a glass of your favorite wine, get comfortable, and get ready to pour your heart out. Hey there, beautiful people. It's your girl, Nene, and I'm back with another episode of Pour Your Heart Out, Black Women's Honest Conversations. Tonight, we have a really interesting episode tonight. We're going to be talking about that wonderful thing called the vagina. All right, but before we get started, I am going to hop on two of our big hitters as a part of the Pour Your Heart Out. You know, we have an amazing panel of Black women, but we have two of our fan favorites that are going to be joining us tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them on. First, we have one of our favorites, Shaka, aka Moon Goddess. Hey, sissy.
Hello, hello, hello.
Alrighty, and next we are going to bring out your favorite doctor, Dr. Mia. Hey there.
Hello.
I love your hair.
Yes, thank you.
All of this black girl magic up here tonight.
Yes.
How do you all feel about the topic? First of all, just tell me that. How do you feel about tonight's topic?
I'm excited. I think it's gonna open a lot of other conversations.
Yeah, the fellas were really excited about this tonight. How do you feel about it?
I'm a little nervous, but you know, I'm down for whatever.
All right, and thank you so much for those of you that are joining us in the chat. Please make sure that you hit that like, subscribe button and share this out with some of your friends, whether they have a vagina or not. You know, it's for everybody. Everybody can learn something from this. All right, whether you have one or not.
Vagina is for everybody.
For everybody. Everybody can enjoy the vagina. All right, so we're just going to hop right on in because, you know, we got started late. I tell all of you, our listeners, our viewers, our before show is like a whole show. Like, I legit need to bring in a camera in here so I can record us just getting ready, getting the sound together, making sure our hair good, our face is good, and the conversations that we have before we get on here, they need to be recorded. We could get some good clips off of our before show conversations, right? Good evening, One Love. Thank you so much. You have been supporting Straight Talk Society a lot lately, and we really appreciate it. So thank you for joining us for tonight's episode. Our all-women panel, Pour Your Heart Out. We come on about once a month. Unless we have some really good topics, we may hop in more than that. But thank you for joining us tonight. So we're going to go ahead, and I have one big question for you ladies. I just want to know, what was your first monologue with your vagina? Ooh, what, that look on your face, sissy? I want to know. I want to know.
I'm gonna let Dr. Mia go first.
It was that good.
I think I was the first time I saw hair. So I think not like I, and I know we're gonna bring this to later, but no one told me what's the stages, what's gonna happen down there. So for me, it was really weird, and I was like, why is there hair down here? Like I understand the hair under my armpit, and I understand the hair on my head. I have eyelashes, that's hair, eyebrows, that's hair. Some people will claim that I have hair on my chin and my upper lip, but I understand all of those hairs. But what the freak is that hair doing down there? That is the part that really threw me off. And then it came with such an abundance. Like it just was like, and then it was always hot down there. Now that I have this hair, now it's hot. Like I can remember like just wanting to like I don't want to be with no panties on because there's just layers of heat. Like you're always shot. I remember my panties was wet from sweat. Like this is like a full day in school and you got a wet panty and a sweaty panty. I because it's hot. Why is my vagina hot?
I'm sorry, but I can so relate to that. And now having a daughter that's starting to, oh my God.
Have a hot vagina.
So your first monologue was, why is there hair down there?
I think vagina.
The stuff they don't let us know about. All right, I'm getting some comments that about the feedback and things like that. So when one of us is talking, I'm just gonna unmute. I'm gonna mute everyone just to make sure that they can hear clearly, including myself. All right. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Me. Shaka, you want to go ahead and share your first monologue with your vagina?
I think my first monologue with my vagina was probably around 12 years old. When actually it was my 12th birthday, and I had talked to mom and grandma and the women of the family about the change and what happens and whatever. And on my 12th birthday, it was my first kind of like co-ed birthday party. We had barbecue. My birthday was on a Saturday, and we had barbecue the night before. And I was eating the barbecue, and I remember thinking to myself, I don't like this sauce. This sauce is weird. Next day was my birthday party. I was all excited. I woke up. I felt like, was it Coming to America? Yes, today is my birthday. Like, that's how I felt. And I went to the bathroom, and I got my period. And I screamed. And I said, I'm having an allergic reaction to that barbecue sauce because in my mind, that's what it was. So I began to talk. What is that? What is wrong with it? What is happening to you? Why are you doing it? Because it didn't dawn on me that this is what it was. So yeah, that was my first conversation.
And the day after your 12th birthday. Wow. So you just hit the
No,
ground running on your birthday. Wow. You just hit the ground running, huh? Oh, overachiever. Wow. Oh my gosh. When we decided on this topic, it started really making me think about, like, I had to go back in my head because we in our 40s. I think my first one, I don't know the exact age, but I know it was elementary school, and I think it may have been the first time I started feeling something down there. Like I'm watching TV and I see kissing, and like I remember I used to tell my mom and my aunts like my monkey is tickling. That's what they called it, the monkey. So I'm like, why? Because I didn't really know about sex and erections and orgasms. I didn't know any of that, but I just knew, well, when I see these people kissing, my monkey start tickling. When I see this, and I wasn't associated, so I'm wondering like, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling this? Like I know tickling as you're doing this, so why am I feeling this down there? So like, what's wrong with you? What you doing? what's going on. I didn't have urges to do anything because I didn't know anything about that. I just knew that my monkey was tickling when I saw these people on TV kissing. So what's wrong with you? Wow. It's amazing how we have these monologues. We have these conversations with ourselves and things like that, and knowing how they're different amongst all of us, especially all of us at this point being in our 40s. So we grew up in the same time period, but just knowing what the differences were. So that was really interesting. Thank you, ladies, for sharing that. I'm hopping over
It's
looking at the comments just to see what's going on over there.
it's
Alrighty.
interesting that
So
you say, can you hear me?
go ahead.
It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting that you said tickling because I remember feeling a pulsating, right? Like it was beating, like I could feel my heart beating in my panties, right? Like it was this pulsating feeling of like, what is that? And it wasn't like I didn't like it. I just wasn't sure, like, what was it? And it was like a calm, and it was like interesting, and it you just I remember that like that first time where you were like when you were aroused, right? That's your first arousal. Yours was tickling, mine was pulsing. What was yours doing, Shaka?
Honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. Am I still muted? Oh, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was probably a little later in my teens before everyone else seems to have had it earlier. I was a little later in my teens, and it was probably around the time, and I'm gonna kick myself later for saying this, but open and honest conversations. That's what we do here at Pour Your Heart Out. So it was the second guy I had ever had sex with. I would read in books about the orgasm and the woman, and this is what all these things, and I would listen to my friends who were already having sex, and I was very inexperienced, and I'm listening to them, and they're like, oh yeah, and we did this, and then I had an orgasm. I was like, you did? So watching movies, reading books, I thought that you were supposed to go make the noises and the screams. I didn't know that you actually experience the noises and the screams. So I was about 17, and I think it was probably my first orgasm, and I thought I was dying. I thought I was dying. That I was turned on. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't understand it. Now I didn't read all the books. Okay, I didn't talk to all the girls. Okay, I didn't heard some of the stories from the boys. So you couldn't tell me that I did not know at 17 what I was doing. We knew what we was doing. We had no idea. We had no clue. We did not know, because when it was happening, I thought I was gonna die. I thought I was dying. This is it. I felt like George Jefferson. I'm going to coming home to see you, Weezy. Like or what was her name, Louis, whatever her name was. That was me, because I was dying. This could not be enjoyable. This should not be pleasurable, because I am dying. Is what's happening. So everybody needs to stop. Everybody stop what you're doing, because I'm dying. Yes, that was mine.
That is hilarious. So, since we're talking about the feelings that we all got around that time, like, what was it like? Because we were younger then, what was it like once you experienced that, not knowing what it was at the time? Because me, I was younger, so obviously I wasn't finna start running out and having sex, but I do remember that I liked the tickle once I realized, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. So I would watch things. What back then porn was like, what, Red Shoe Diary on HBO. It was nothing major, but I remember sneaking and watching that, not doing anything, because I just remember that tickle. So I'm watching stuff where people are kissing, and but still not really knowing what it was. So once you determine what that feeling was, once I got older, obviously I really understood, like, hey, this is it. This is what you do, and we'll get to that. Not too deep though. My husband watching, but but once you experience that, and like Dr. Mia, you said yours was that throbbing. Now, me as an adult understanding that, I totally get what you mean with that throbbing. But at the time, it's like, I just know a ticklish feeling. But once you experience that, what was it like? Was it something that you wanted to continue feeling, whether you were acting out on it? Shaka, you were older once you experienced it, obviously. So that was something that you were in a place where you could continue acting out on it. But was it a feeling that you felt that you were chasing so that your happy lady down there could continue feeling experiencing that? Or Shaka, did it kind of like make you not want to because you thought that you were dying? So
Initially, it made me not want to because I thought that I was dying. I didn't understand what this was. And it actually took the guy, who shall remain nameless because I do not want to have that on my list. That's that memory you kind of want to forget. Right. But at the time, it took him to explain to me, like, yeah, this is what this is. You are having an orgasm. I just made you come. This is what I was like, wait, huh? And I was like, oh, then it clicked. Then once it clicked, I still didn't really explore it or chase it, I would say, because I just didn't understand it. But once I graduated high school, we checked off all the boxes. We had us a nice to-do list. We went through it, okay? We were in our 20s, we were in our prime, so we thought. And we discovered and uncovered and figured out and put pieces together. And if this could do that with that, I wonder what that would do with this. Well, we don't know. Let's try to find out. So that's what we did. We found out.
so you were living she was living her best life in your
Yes,
20s.
she was. Yes, she was. Yes,
I
she
am not
was.
mad
Yes,
at
she
it.
was. Yes, she was. She was.
What about you, Dr. Mill? Was that a feeling, that throbbing? Was that something that you were more did it make you more curious about it, or was it something that you weren't interested in pursuing further as far as that feeling was concerned?
Well, I lost my virginity when I was in high school. I was 16 years old. Same thing. He will remain nameless. No, I'm just kidding. It was like it was like, I remember being a cheerleader. Like, I felt like I was like living this like textbook recreation of high school. Like, I was a cheerleader, he was the drum major, and he noticed me. He was a senior, I was a sophomore, and I was like, oh my goodness. And he was like, great. He was bow-legged too. So I was like, he is so cute. He has some nice succulent lips. And so I was like, I fell flat on my face, sliding into first base, honey, for him. Very charming, charismatic, Haitian, just like me. But he was also so much more experienced than I was. Girl, he had me sprung like chicken wings, 7-Eleven. Like, I wanted it all the time. Like, once we had sex, it was like, this is such wonderful feeling. Like, how dare they tell me to wait till I'm married? Do you know how far that is? Like, I need to do this now. Like, why would you deprive me of this feeling? And so yeah, I had a boyfriend. I lost my virginity, and then 3 months later he broke up with me. Right. It was like at like the 3-month mark when I finally gave in, and we were like happy, 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 happy. But then I started to feel guilty about it. And I was like, I can. And then once he really realized I wasn't down to like just hop on it anytime, any place, he dropped me because that's what he wanted, right? It needed to be somebody he had conquered. And so it was like mixed emotions. My heart was broken. I was so confused. I was mad. I was mad at my vagina. You did this. Those TikToks where they have the little monologues with the heart and the physical being. I'm like, oh my God, I wish this was out when we were growing up, because this is exactly how it is. Your heart was telling you one thing, your vagina was telling you another thing, your consciousness was telling you one thing. It was like, hey, y'all all just get along and agree. And believe me, in high school, I wouldn't recommend anybody like have sex in high school. I know it's happening, but I don't. I'm grateful that my daughter is still a virgin. She's 17, because I don't want that for her, because it is quite confusing. It is a cesspool. And I'm just like thinking about my experience. I don't want that for her. Like now I'm like, yeah, I do want you to wait till you find somebody that you are compatible with, that you love, that respects you, that you want to have a future with, and you're committed to. I don't know about the narrative of it having to be once you get married, because then you don't want to say, like, what is the definition of wait till you get married? Engaged, like that, that's a whole different segment. But yeah, I wanted a more child. I wanted a more.
That's messed up. He dumped you. Men ain't shit. Hello. In high school. I lost my virginity later in life. I was scared of boys. Like middle school. Don't look at me. High school. Yeah, but So I was scared of boys. Shock no. Like I was scared of boys. So I didn't lose mine until I was 21 years old, and he don't count. Damn it. So I'm still not mentioning names, but I didn't lose mine until I was 21, and yeah, I was scared of boys. I didn't want you looking at, especially once I got to the age where, okay, I'm starting to develop curves and boys are actually noticing me now. Like, don't look at me. Try to cover it up, and then folks like, oh, Nidra, I didn't know you had, because I didn't want y'all looking at me. I didn't want you looking at me. All right. So thank you, ladies, for sharing your stories. I'm going to just put up a couple of comments. One Love, she says, bringing back memories at 19 with her husband. Her story goes, wait a minute, what is this? Very nice, sensational feelings. And once that happens, that's it. That's right. She snagged him up, and that is her husband. Congratulations on that. All right. Let me see. Not you going to let anybody handle you. Not at all. You want that beautiful height. That's right. Alrighty. So we talked about our first monologues with our vaginas, and the conversations that we had and feelings. Did you have those type of conversations with the women in your life, like as you were growing up? Your moms, your grandma, your aunties. What were those conversations like, if you even had them?
So for me, it was it was kind of taboo, right? You are not to look at boys, think about boys. You look at a boy, you're going to turn into a frog and live in a dungeon, and, you ain't going to get into heaven, and all these horrible things are going to happen to you. You're going to get pregnant, you're going to do this, all the horrible things are going to happen. And that was coming from the older women in my family, like my grandmother and like her sister, so my great aunts. My aunts, depending on who they were, some of them were fun, and they would literally like talk to us and just tell us, what it is, but they wouldn't tell us in a way that made sense to us. They would just, at the time for me, whatever they were saying, it just didn't really register. I got what we were talking about, but again, like I said, I was a very slow learner when it came to this stuff. So some of the aunts would share, and then some of the older cousins would really tell you. But then my mom was just, my mother. Those of you who know my mother, she's very dramatic. And she just, I remember asking her. I remember being 9 years old, and the first time my grandparents were watching the news, and I heard the word rape. And I asked my mom, what does rape mean? And she's like, that's when a man gets you and just cut you all up down there in your monkey. And I was like, oh, okay. Right. Huh? So again, that's the only conversation we had about rape. So I just didn't know. So my mother didn't really go into detail. She was just very dramatic and over explicit when it came to just answer the question, Mom, what? So yes and no. I read a lot of books. And at the time, you remember those little, I don't want to call them dirty little novels, but you remember those little books we would all walk around and read, and they would go into depth about, and then he laid her down slowly and began to undress her with his eyes. Like those are the kind of books that I read. So that kind of made a little bit more sense. But mostly I would just come home, and my grandmother was so afraid that I was going to be, pregnant and out in the world. So she always gave me pamphlets on STDs. And sad to say, I kind of did the same thing with my daughter. I told her when we had conversations what was happening and what was going on, but I also brought home pamphlets. So every Friday night we would have family game night, right? Where we play Monopoly, Uno, Life, whatever board game that she wanted to play, Trouble, whatever, Pictionary. And as she was setting up the table, all right, before tonight's game, we're going to talk about you know, herpes, the gift that keeps on giving. Let's talk about chlamydia, the do's and the don'ts of how not to get, you know what I mean? Some things like that. But I'm kind of grateful that I did because she's well aware. She's well aware, which I wish the women in my life maybe would have made me a little bit more aware of certain things and scenarios instead of me having to read or hear horror stories from my friends. Or once I did start working in the medical field, just seeing the reality of what was happening around me. So, yeah.
That's scary. Rape is when a man just cut up in your monkey. Jesus.
Thanks,
That's
Mom.
dramatic. Okay, let me ask the question I started. We're going to come back to that because that is something that I did want us to talk about as well. Mia, did you have any conversations about your vagina, sex, or anything like that in your earlier years?
Well, my mom is actually in the room, so I'm going to tell it all. She's standing right here. That lady didn't say nothing about sex. She didn't talk about sex. She didn't talk about vaginas. I'm Haitian and, Haitian and Christian. So to talk about sex was like, oh man, somebody died. Like somebody died.
My mom never talked about sex, so how I'm gonna pass it on? I never heard things like that in my life.
Y'all heard it straight from the never, right? So it's kind of like, how do you teach your child how to ride a bike and you've never ridden a bike? And there's the assumption that once you get on, you just know how to do it, right? And it's a natural part of life. And so there's a natural progression into it, but there's some things that, you should know. And maybe your mother may talk to you about, what stimulation is and, how you actually really get pregnant. For me, it's like, if you touch me, your finger is, I'm gonna get pregnant. I was like, I always felt like no matter what you did, you kissing me on my neck, I'm gonna get pregnant. Like, that's what my mom was like, really big, like, don't get pregnant. So no matter what I did, like any internal feeling of my body responding to a stimulus, that was my body getting pregnant. So yeah, she didn't talk about it. She just said, don't have sex. If you do, you're going to hell. And I didn't want to go to hell. But I guess at 16, I decided, hell, I'm going to hell because I definitely had.
Hell was a little bit worth. It was a little bit worth it, huh? It was a little bit worth it.
Right, I made a decision to because I guess maybe I stopped believing that narrative. I always question that. As you get, well, not even older, because 16 not that much older. Like, do you challenge your parents because now you have the counter narrative and what they're saying is like not true? And so, or once you find out one of the things that they've said is not true, then you go all the way and you like, I'm going to explore everything. And so I think once I lost my virginity at 16, it was like I stopped believing a lot of things that my parents said. I say that real.
Some things you just gotta experience for yourself. I didn't have conversations like that with my mom either. Not Miss B, that was just the church lady. Like, no, not Mama B. I didn't have those conversations with her. I grew up very, very Christian, and she was the church musician and choir director, and no, we didn't. Child, no, not Mama B, not Mama Gates. So I didn't have those conversations with her. And I don't even think that it's that I didn't feel comfortable because of her having those conversations. I don't think I even knew what conversation to have with her, like how to approach the questions that I was asking and things like that. Like, I knew about my cycle. So when it did come on at 12, I went in the bathroom. I slid the note up under the bathroom where she was and tell her, hey, this was going on with me. But the conversations as far as, sex and what can happen, I think those are things that I just figured out along the way. Thankfully, it wasn't in a way where I felt like I just needed to be out there experiencing it too early to try to figure it out. But, those are just things that I just started figuring out along the way. All right. One Love says she agrees with Shocker. Her mother just told the girls about their monthly cycles, and that's it. One love. If you want to jump on this panel and share it with us, please. I'm dropping the link. Please feel free to go ahead and join us on. We would love to have you. Oh, my husband. Okay, he might just be here to help with the sound. So yes, one love. If you want to join us on the panel, please feel free to go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go ahead and drop Lim's comment because this is something that I wanted to ask. Shaka kind of segued into it when she was talking about her and Lonnie. So, at what age do you ladies think it's appropriate to have the talk with our daughters? Because that's what I love. All of us are girl moms. So, Shaka, go ahead. At what age do you think it's appropriate to have that talk?
I started as soon as she was able to understand no, stop, all of that. You start having these conversations, you know your child better than anyone. So I feel like it's not enough to just say keep your legs closed and don't sit on Uncle such and such's lap anymore. Like you have to talk. Like my daughter resented me for probably a few years because when they started teaching, like I would talk to her about just little things as early as I can remember, honestly, probably the age of 2, maybe sooner than that. Just little things that she understood. No one touch your monkey. Like I remember her pediatrician saying, "Stop calling it a monkey; it's a vagina." And I was like, "But that's how I grew up." And then I had a friend who, for her daughter, they called it a pocketbook. You know, you don't let no man near your pocketbook. You know, so you start as early as they can understand. You know, whatever your language is, if it's English your first language or whatever your first language is, that's when I feel like you need to start having the talk. But then that also leads into, because for me it was almost a shock, like I said, at 9 to um, ask what to ask what rape is, and you're telling me, in this explicit way what it is, or what you thought I should know at 9, it blew my mind, and I really didn't understand, and I still didn't understand. So how am I going to feel comfortable with, you can come to me and tell me anything, right? No, Ma, I can't, because I don't know where you are. So I feel like we started very young, and every year up until I think she was probably in maybe the 8th grade, I signed her up for sex ed. Whatever conversations they were having at school, you need to talk about it. I'll never forget. She came home one day in the 8th grade and she was so mad. I used to, how you hang up your kids' pictures and artwork and things like that they do at school. Oh, Mom, look, I drew you a flower. And you hang it up on the refrigerator. She was like, well, this is a vagina, and these are the parts of the vagina, and then this is the penis, and these are the parts of the penis. Now put it on the refrigerator and be proud. And I was like, okay, thank you. I will. But that led into easier conversations when she, was ready to be sexually active. I can honestly say a lot of parents may not know when their child lost their virginity, but I can tell you honestly, I knew when. I didn't know the exact day, but I knew around the time, because the conversations and the questions she was asking me, like I wanted to stop certain generational curses by not discussing sex, because it's so taboo. But is it really? And I feel like a lot of young women don't have enough people listening to them and answering their questions truthfully without shutting them down and already putting them in the pits of hell and all these other things. Like, it's never too I don't think it's ever too early. That's just my answer. It's never too early for me.
Well, within the therapeutic space, I thank Shaka for clarifying and making it very clear that a vagina is a vagina and a penis is a penis. Stop calling them pocketbooks, purse, monkeys, flowers, because when you give it an alternative name, if somebody touches their flowers, but you've been calling it a monkey, they don't make that correlation. So it's very important to call the duck, because it helps that child make the correlations. Stop making up names, even just as simple as they tell you when you have children that you speak normally to them. Don't do the oh my baby, because guess what? They're gonna right back at you. They're going to give you back the gibberish that you have bestowed upon them. So definitely thank Shaka for bringing that up. Call it what it is. It's a penis and that's a vagina. And then they say within my, professional setting is that the moment the child asks about it, so the within the Black culture, it's always like you're not old enough to know about that. If I'm old enough to ask you about it, or because I've had some intersection with the conversation some other place and I feel safe enough to come to you to ask you about it, as a parent, you are obligated to follow through on that request. Stop being dismissive of your children's inquiries because they really want to know, they're curious, and thank God they came to you. But the first time you reject them will be the last time they come to you, because now you're teaching them to go find sources of information somewhere else. And so now they are going to ask Karen and Linda and Luke, because they're not pushing them away and telling them that they're not old enough and mature enough. So the moment, and it has to be age appropriate, right? So I'm not saying like with a 5-year-old talk about how to put a condom on. I'm talking about it has to be age appropriate learning about the different body parts and what's supposed to be done, because as with the young kids, you teach them that only time this area is touched is because you're taking a shower or you're wiping, and then as they get older, they ask more in-depth questions. So I started early with my daughter because, I think I talk about this all the time, that I was molested as a child. And so to make sure that that does not happen, and like you said, interrupting and breaking those intergenerational traumas, and, in the church, we call them curses. But yes, I needed to, just like me and my sister, we made a pact, like it will not happen to our girls. So we will be having this conversation about the vagina, what is appropriate touch, and making my daughter feel comfortable about that body part, because that's yours for life, honey. It ain't going nowhere. So owning the pieces, the parts of her body, is the very first part of body image and acceptance and and validating who they are, is them owning the various parts of their bodies. And a major organ is that vagina. I always got to mess it up. I say all professional, and I be like that, but that vagina.
I,
Yeah, but she
ooh,
was.
I totally agree with you, ladies, especially when you talk about the making them feel comfortable with it, because a lot of times when it's talked about, it's in a negative way, and then they're feeling ashamed about what's natural. So I try, pray for me, y'all. I try with Leia to have that let her feel comfortable with it. She's 8 now, but since she was 2 or 3 years old, she knew that that was her vagina. She couldn't say the vagina, but she knew what it was. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't a flower, a monkey, and the penis wasn't a weedy worm and all that stuff that it was when we were growing up. She knows it's vagina and it's penis. Now we don't do a whole lot of talk about the penis, and she don't know what it's for. She just know that daddy had one, and we have a vagina. But I'm working towards the actual. She hasn't expressed interest in that yet, as far as the sex and what it's made for. But she does know that any day now, hopefully when she's 11 or 12, that she will start her menstrual cycle. So I've already explained that to her, because I know at this point girls are getting it as young as 8, 9, and 10 years old. So she knows that that's something to expect. When my cycle is on, I talk to her about that, like, okay, it's mommy's time of the month now, and she knows when I'm having the tummy aches, or when I just need to relax, or when I need to do things. So she knows what to expect. And she's still not happy about, Dr. Mia, she talked about where this hair coming from. She's not happy about that, having that right now. So that's a daily struggle with, why is this here? I don't like it. I'm sorry, baby girl. That's just a part of life and womanhood. But I'm not a woman. I'm just a little girl. So she's not happy about that. But we haven't gotten to the actual sex talk yet. So I'm just taking it day by day. But listening to you ladies, I'm glad to know that I'm on the right track with her, because I do want her to feel comfortable enough to be able to come and talk to me when she notices any changes with her body, or when that time of the month does come. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you, Shop.
Okay. So I just thought about something. I think, Dr. Mia, you said something, you referenced something about condoms, and I just thought about the funniest story. My daughter is 23, and to this day, she will not eat a whole banana, just like peel it and just eat it, because one night before family game night, I was like, oh, and tonight we're going to learn how to put on a condom. And she's like, what? So I taught her nowhere near her trying to, she wasn't ready for sex. She was, I think she was in middle school. I think she was, I would say she was like 11 or 12. She hadn't even got her cycle yet. But I was like, we don't learn how to put on the condom. And she's like, what? So I'm like, yep, get the banana. To this day, this girl will not eat. But I bet she know how to put on a condom.
And it's crazy because I remember the first time, because I always close the door when I have a sliding door, you know, the one that disappears into the wall. They call those doors.
Yes.
So I think my son was like 4. And he walked into the bathroom. He was like, Mommy, why are you peeing out of your butt? And you're like, in that moment, I was like, I have to explain this because in our generation, we would have
Right. It's the innocence of children.
get out. So I had to explain to him that I sit down and I have a vagina because he was terrified that I was peeing out of my
butt. Because you're supposed to stand up to pee.
Right.
That is hilarious.
When he was terribly confused, he needed to know why I was out of my butt. Oh my God! After I was laughing so hard.
My face hurts.
He asked the question. I had
my cheeks hurt.
This is why I'm peeing out of my butt, because my vagina is connected to my butt. It's only a centimeter hole that separates the two.
So I just saw the funniest, I think it was like a TikTok or a reel, and the woman was trying to, she said she was using the bathroom, and her toddler, who was about 3, was not taking no for an answer that she couldn't come into the bathroom because how dare mom wants to have some alone time. But anywho, she goes in and she was like, it was that time of the month, and as I'm changing my tampon, why did I think it was a good idea to do it in front of this 3-year-old? But I did. Now she has questions. So she was like, Mom, why do you have what is that? Why is there a string there? So she says she goes into this whole spiel and she's explaining to the 3-year-old what it is, and she's actually proud of herself because she said she felt like she did a great job explaining. And the only thing that her kid got out of that was, you have a rat's tail coming out of your butt. And when I grow up, I'm gonna have to have a rat tail coming out of my butt. And she said, and the sad part is that's not even the part that's really upsetting. What's upsetting is as soon as we go out in public, she's going to find a stranger and she's going to say to that stranger, my mommy has a string coming out of her butt, a rat tail coming out of her butt. And so am I. When I get older, I'm going to have a rat tail coming out of my butt. And someone's going to call CPS on me and it's going to be my fault. I just had to share that. That was so funny to me. I'm sorry.
Them damn kids in their mouth. But me, you brought up something interesting about your son. That's not something, because I don't have a son, obviously, that I ever thought about, you know, as a woman having to have that conversation to an extent with your male child about, you know, your womanhood and how it is different and things like that. I never thought about that. Lord, baby,
no, I'm so serious. I think moms, you know, I think we're having a conversation about our vagina monologues with our daughters, but you know, it's important to have these conversations with your sons, because I remember I had a girlfriend and she was dating this guy, and you know, they were having sex or whatever, and her period came on for whatever reason, and he freaked out. You understand what I mean? Like, freaked out, got up, got dressed, jumped in the shower. She was like, I had never seen anything like it. And it was because he didn't understand. Like, you grown, like you in your 20s. And so when you're shielding them from it, like the perception of moms shielding their sons from having the vagina talks, you know, just like, you know, the discomfort of talking about penises. Like I don't want to talk about penises with my daughter, but understanding the opposite person's anatomy. But he freaked out. Like they broke up, girl, at that time. Like that was so traumatic for him. And we were like, you how old are you? I mean, had gone to college, everything, and had never had the experience where he saw a period. So,
Oh,
like,
dummy.
having conversations with our daughters, we got to be having these conversations with our sons too, because they're going to have wives and they're going to see like that, the first time that they're introduced to that shouldn't be from the girlfriend or the wife, because then they're going to be looking at them with three heads. And she going to be looking like, who raised you?
How I like we're talking about, having that conversation. Shaka, you funny. I'm just looking at your faces and your movements. You're hilarious. Having that conversation about our vaginas with the sons. What about the dads that are raising girls, whether it's full-time or co-parenting, like Mike? He has his daughter, and he said that he's terrified to have that conversation about the menses with his daughter. Like, what suggestions would you have for that? Go ahead.
I mean, Dr. Mia is going to give us the professional answer, but just being a woman who has either, dated men and, they have access to my daughter, we all have to be on the same page. So if it's more comfortable, Mike, I would honestly say, get, if I don't know the status between you and mom, if y'all cool, if y'all communicate like that, but get on the same page, because when my daughter got her cycle, her dad and we were on the same page. We didn't know when it was going to happen, but I informed him things you should say. But he's also remarried, and I have a great relationship with his wife, and all of us were on the same page. The three of us, and the guy that I was dating at the time, we were all on the same page. These are the things that are going to happen. So if you have a great support system, I mean, good close friend, sister, aunt, whoever you cool with, but you still need to be privy to the conversation of what they're saying to your daughter, because you don't want them to misinform, and you also don't want your daughter just going to one said person with information and not coming to you if she has real questions. Because I'm going to tell you, growing up, I had real questions, and I really wish I would have questioned my dad more about certain things, my grandfather more about certain things. I really wish I would have found out, from the male perspective. Like, my grandfather was not afraid to go buy, me a maxi pad with the wangs, like he used to call it, God bless his soul. And has no issue with it. But I've dated men who are I'm not gonna go get you no tampons. I can't go get you the wangs. I'm not gonna go get no I'm a man. I can't do. I'm sorry, what? Or I mean, this is a whole nother topic or conversation. But the men, if you like you said, Dr. Mia, your friend who dating this guy and her cycle came on and he lost his mind. Or some men don't touch women at all on their cycles, but then other men don't seem to matter because clearly they've had a conversation. So I just feel like get a great support system around you, those single fathers or fathers who are raising daughters, because sometimes we all know daddy's little girl, but sometimes those little girls have the same questions. Instead of them coming to mom with those questions, they'll come to dad. So you need to know, sit down with your friends, your homegirls. If you can't talk to mom, family members, coworkers, whoever you cool with, to get a real understanding of the conversation you may need to have with your daughter. But, or, help, they'll be able to help you, give you a better understanding, and or maybe give you something to think about that you can talk to your kid about. So I would just say that just get some good women that you're around, that to help you out in the situation. It takes a village, Mike. It takes a village.
Well, just like Shaka said, no, just like Shaka said that there's a book for that. There's a book for that and an app for that. Just like when I'm working, it's on the table. When I'm working with my families, and even my son and my daughter, like, there's an app for that. Like the Flow app, I tell people, I was like, yeah, oh, I wish they had the Flow app when we were young. Like, because I'm still learning things about my reproductive system in my big age that either I wasn't paying attention when they was talking about it during that week, that the only 1 week in the whole school year that y'all dedicated to it, which it really should have been a semester. Or I just didn't grasp the concept because I wasn't living it, right? And it wasn't an actual experience. You don't know what my purse look like. It's on the table.
It's not, mommy.
Oh my goodness. Multitasking, sorry. So The Flow app is amazing, 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 amazing. I think I paid like $4.99 for like the whole year. And when I tell you, parents, if you have a little girl and she doesn't have the Flow app so that she can track her cycle and understand her body, and if she's not sure, it'll say like, hey, what are you feeling today? Maybe your breast is tender and maybe you're cramping, and it says log your symptoms, and it's like a real vagina assistant. That's what I call it, like a reproductive assistant, because it's telling you stuff constantly about yourself. And then, like, first thing first, sit down, get a book, because there's the books that talks about puberty. Read the book with them first and go through it. We could be proactive. This winging it, I think this is my big motto. Like, we got to stop winging life. Like, we better than this. We can really get in front of this stuff.
I agree. I like what Mike said. He says that he's gonna get some practice before the pad and start having his daughter wearing panty liners. All right. Oh my gosh. Shaka, if you're still there, I don't know what's happening. She fell off. All righty. Let me see. You still there, sissy? Hey, Tequila, thank you so much for joining us. If you want to hop on the panel, go ahead and drop the link if you want to hop on and join us and talk about your vagina. All righty. Dr. Mia kind of like segued us into this. So we're going to go ahead and move on and start talking about our reproductive health, because our vagina, there is so much that encompasses our vaginas, especially as Black women. We honestly couldn't talk about it all in one show. Alrighty. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about reproductive health, because that's something that, when you're growing up and you're learning and discovering what your vagina is, what it does, what it's for, there are some things that we don't know about until we're thrown into the situation dealing with our productive health, because all we think of is, oh, I can have a baby. But there's so much more that is involved in that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to share some of our stories related to our productive health. Dr. Mia, you want to go ahead and start us off on that?
Man, the first time, like, I think we talked about this when we were talking about the mommy conversation, the real hood of motherhood. But I don't think that I like truly like tune in to my vagina until I got pregnant. Like when it was like baby making time. Like before, it was simply seen as a mechanism for pleasure. You know what I mean? Like it was a tool that I needed to use. Like it was like, and I think it's the same thing. Like before you have children, your breasts are like just, for pleasure. And then once you start breastfeeding, you be like, don't touch my boobs like that. Like there's a whole child nursing from this, right? Like, no, you can't touch my boobs. That's for the baby. So it's the same thing with the vagina. Like I didn't realize like the assignment, right, that it had. Like there's this whole thing that's happening on the end of that tunnel on the other side. And so it was quite, and then like going to the gynecologist for the first time, and them putting that cold metal clamp inside of you and like cranking it up like you crank. Man, I was like, this is so barbaric. Like, how are we still doing this in 2020, whatever? We've and I think it's because it's us, right? And I'm glad, the past 40-50 years there's more gynecologists that reflect the community in which they're served, because it was really just men gynecologists. And so creating systems of care for our bodies, and then add Black gynecologists creating systems of care for our bodies, it was barbaric. It's what their framework of understanding from a scientific perspective, but not from a personal experience. So for me, it didn't click and really like figuring out what my vagina is there and what it's supposed to do till it was time to have that first baby. And then all of the things that came with that, like what do you mean the baby's head is gonna come back out there? Like, is it gonna go back to normal? Like it's I'm gonna be ruined. They're like, what do you mean? Like there's a head that's gonna come out of my vagina? Like, the what to expect when you're expecting. So I was like blown away from that. I was blown away, disgusted, like just blown away. That's the proper term. It's my proper term. I was blown away. No, I was disgusted. I was like, oh my God, no. I've heard women that choose C-sections because they're worried about their vagina stretching and not, going back, the elasticity going back. Of course that's ignorant now, but these are all of the things that you're thinking about. And so like we talked about, my mom didn't have anything to offer me on the front end. So everything I learned was from a first-hand experience. And I had an older sister, and it's crazy because we're both simultaneously having these questions and don't knows, and we're not talking to each other because you don't want to have that. You're like scared, like what if they don't have the answer? I think we're afraid of somebody not having the answer and you still not knowing, right? So you just don't ask. So it all started with motherhood, because prior to that it was just like, it was pleasure. It was all pleasure.
I'm sorry if y'all see me pausing. My Wi-Fi is tripping over here, so I'm trying to also watch from my phone so I can tell when you stop talking because you're freezing on my computer. But watching it on the phone is kind of like a delay. So if you're done talking and I don't chime in yet, the next person can go ahead. Wi-Fi has been tripping a lot lately. All righty. Thank you so much for sharing sharing that, Dr. Mia. And you are right as far as the men being the ones as the gynecologist, because when I first started going to the gynecologist, it seemed like that's all that there was. It was men, and then it was white men. And it's like, it was uncomfortable, it hurt, they were rough, and I'm like, and then I had to realize they don't get it because they don't have vagina. So they don't know that, one, this thing is cold, it's uncomfortable, and then you got my legs kicked back and you cranking this thing. And it wasn't until I finally had my first female gynecologist that I understood, like, okay, it's still uncomfortable, but it's completely different. And then when I had a black female gynecologist, it was like, I'm in heaven, like she gets this, because they understand what that is like. All righty. Shaka, did you want to go ahead and share?
What was the question?
What were we talking about? We're starting the conversation about reproductive health.
Yes. Okay. Reproductive health. Okay. Yeah. I got it. Sorry. Woo. So I'm pouring my heart out. So reproductive health for me, yes, it was. We didn't speak about it. I didn't know. I was just told when you start having sex, you need to go to the GYN. So I just found the first name in the book that followed the initials of Doctor da 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 GYN, and that's who I went to. And it was a white. Well, he was white. He was an Indian male. And I thought that he was the greatest doctor ever until I went to a woman and I realized this man had no idea. He read about these things. He only knew textbook, whatever. He did not know what I was truly experiencing, what I may be going through. You had no idea, sir. You're just going off of and no disrespect to any of those doctors out there, but for me and mine, my vagina, who deserves the absolute best treatment, yearly, monthly, in all the ways possible. Yeah, you are not it, sir. So when I found my first female gynecologist, it made a lot of sense. I was way more comfortable because I thought, to me, it felt like she understood what I was saying versus me trying to explain to him what I was experiencing. And then later in life, when I found a black gynecologist, female, it was everything and then some. Options I didn't, right, literally, options I didn't even know I could consider, things that she suggested I never thought about. No one ever told me. It didn't make sense. And then I don't know if it's too early to start, but when I had my you go for your PAP yearly, right? So I went for my yearly PAP and I found out that it came back abnormal. And I was probably early 20s and I didn't know what that meant. What do you mean abnormal? Because I've been doing this since I was like, what, 17, 16, 17, and everything has been normal, normal, normal. Now it's abnormal and we got to do biopsies. What do you mean a biopsy? Oh, we need to take pieces of your cervix and then we're going to send it out and we're going to test it to make sure it's not cancerous. And then if it's not cancerous, you're still going to have to come in, even though that one pap came back abnormal and the biopsy was normal. You got to come in now every quarter. So every 3 to 4 months for the next year, just in case something's not right. Mom never told me this. Grandma never told me this. My aunt never told me this. Nobody ever told. So I didn't know. So now I got to read and I got to find out my own research. And there's nothing wrong with reading and finding out information for yourself. However, it's helpful when you have someone that you trust or someone that you look up to or someone that you've had these conversations with tell you exactly what to expect. So when my daughter got of age, and they didn't do she didn't get her first pap until she was 21 because there was no need to do it before 21. So when she got her first one, I told her exactly what to expect. Just like you said, Dr. Mia. Well, now they have the plastic speculums. They didn't have plastic speculums back in my day when I started. It was that old cold metal one, large man hands and crank, 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 crank. You don't feel uncomfortable, and it was very uncomfortable. I told her exactly what to expect. They're going to give you something that's like a huge paper towel, okay? You're going to cover yourself with it, all right? They're going to do this, they're going to do that. These are the things you can expect, da, da, da. And it was almost relief for her because she knew exactly what to expect. And she was like, Mom, it's everything you said it was going to be. That's exactly what they did. Right. Whereas I went in and I was blind, so I had no idea. I was like, in this day and age, then when I found out later in life that I needed to, I ended up with fibroids and I needed to have a transvaginal ultrasound. And they were like, okay, well, we're going to, and I didn't know what that was. And they're like, okay, you're going to lay on the table and we're going to, they put this this tube, this long stick. And I was like, in the year of 2020, whatever, we can put a man on the moon.
On it. And they have a nerve to put a condom on it, Shaka.
Right. And I'm like, yeah, and you're just going to, and then they give it to you so you can insert it. Wait, I can do this at home. Wait a minute. I do this I ain't going to say every night, but I do this by myself. Ma'am, I don't need you. I know exactly. In the year of 20, this is what we doing? Are y'all, in medicine, y'all can't just stand, I can't stand now, like at the airport, when you go through the TSA, they go, y'all can't do that to figure out what the heck is wrong. Right. I can't assume the position. Why I got to sit there and lay there with you in this machine, me insert, like this is porn. It's not off porn. I feel like this is porn. Like this. So yeah, I just feel like please talk to your children, the young women. Let them know what to expect because our parents, I feel like, let us down in a sense. They almost failed us. Almost. No disrespect, Mama Mia, but they all.
No, I always have.
I'm saying to your mom, no disrespect, but yeah. I feel like
I can say you failed.
Right. No, I didn't. But they almost failed us, So I just feel like you know better, do better. So I made sure that I did a lot better than my parents and the information of what, to expect when you go to that GYN appointment, who you want to look for, things that you want to ask. There's nothing wrong with male doctors, but there's nothing like a woman understanding exactly what you're going through and me not trying to explain to a man what I'm feeling or what's happening. So that's my experience.
I'm really glad we're having this conversation because honestly, I never thought about the gynecology conversation with Leia. So that's something I want to make sure that I prepare her for. Like she's prepared to know that her cycle is going to start, but I never thought about that gynecology conversation because it was pretty traumatic for me at the beginning. I think I started when I was 21 once I started having sex, and it was pretty traumatic because I didn't know what to expect. So I need to make sure that I have that conversation with her. Yeah. Look over here at the comics. Mike is heavy in the comments. Thank you for joining us. Mike says he never understood why women men are so barbaric. That titty smush machine looks crazy pain. It is painful, Mike. It is.
Oh,
like,
We're not even gonna
Child.
talk about
Go ahead,
doggone breast.
Shaka. Go ahead.
Okay, so I know we gonna get back to the
Yeah.
female,
Yeah.
all that. But let's talk about mammograms. Let's talk about these mammograms. So I and I'm okay with saying this. I am a middle-aged woman who just recently turned 45. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. However, I will say this. I went for my first mammogram at 40, and I do have breast cancer from my maternal aunt. She has it. So they're telling me that I'm not really considered high risk. Now, if it were my mother, grandmother, my daughter, something like that, then I would be. But because it's a maternal aunt, I'm not too concerned, but I should definitely get them yearly, which I have been. 2 years ago, I had one that came back abnormal, so they wanted to do a diagnostic mammogram. And that meant, oh, we're just going to do a little bit of more views, but a deeper look. Okay. I do not have, in the words of Slip and Slide, it ain't about your titty hoe. It's about your, pump that up. That'll get you in the video, right? So I was never worried about the girls, okay? We go and get the girls tested. The girls are good. The girls come back with they needing more additional views. We go get these additional views. They made these little itty bitty titties this big, okay? They was flat. It hurt. I looked like I had got into a fight and all they did was punch me right here. That's exactly what it looked like. It was
Was it a
so
stereo? It was like a stereo something mammogram where they had to put a needle in.
No, I didn't have to do the one with the needle. They didn't have to do a needle biopsy, but they just literally, it was a regular mammogram, but they literally compress it to like nothing.
That's
And I mean, I have a high pain tolerance. Like if you know me, like I literally Aspria, Mimi. I have a high tolerance for pain. And when they did this, I was like, oh, like really? Like it was a lot. And this year, so everything seemed to be fine. And thank God, 2 years go by, we're good. I go for my yearly a few months ago mammogram, and guess what? I gotta get another diagnostic. And I'm like, great. But I think what it is that they said that I have I forget something tissue. I'll think of the word. I can't think of the word right now. But dense breast. I have very dense breasts, whatever that means. So I was like, oh, okay. So now I have to get an additional one. And we're not even going to get into the insurance and all this other foolishness of how much I got to pay to get it done. Or how long it's taking to get it done. But that's something totally different. However, we don't talk like my mom went for her mammogram. I used to take my grandmother for her mammogram before she passed away. And we never talked about what it is. But because I'm in the medical field, I get it. Had I not been in the medical field, I'd be mind blown. Like, is this what we doing in 2023? Like, really, we really gotta go through this, y'all. I still don't understand why is there not like something similar. Like, I feel like it shouldn't be so invasive, and it is. Am I the one that feels that way? Do y'all feel like it's very invasive, the things that we have to go through?
It is. It
yeah,
is.
no,
Like
like
Mike
the
said, all of
biopsy,
that stuff is very.
right?
Go ahead, Mia.
The biopsy, it was like a stereostatic biopsy. I went to um someplace in Miami. I forgot the cancer center. Same thing, right? There was
Hmm.
a mass and they needed to go in. So what they did is that they smushed the breast and they held it there and they used the camera to guide the needle to make the extraction. And I too have a very high pain tolerance, but I cried. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. This cannot. And then you're telling me, so you lay flat on the table, you put your breast in the hole, and then the hole squeezes the breast. They hold it, then they stick the needle in, and she guides the needle. She stops, look at the screen to make sure she's guiding, go back, stop, take pictures. Like, and you have to be absolutely still while you take a sample of this mass. And I'm like, really, this how we got to do it? Like, I cried, like I was in tears, like I could not believe, like you said, that this is what we're doing in 2021. Because it was like, there has to be another way. Like, we can ping things from the freaking out of the atmosphere, and I can look at the street that you're living on, but you can't figure out whether I have cancer in my breast, you we out of space. I'm here on Earth. So it was so disheartening. And you're right. I always say it's barbaric, just like childcare is hard because it's the woman's problem. Gynecology is abrasive because it's a woman's problem. Like, it's the parts where unless we're at the tables to solve these problems, they're going to continue as is. Like, we have to have a seat at the table to address the issues that concern women. And I don't think it's that they don't care, it's just that they don't understand. Because I can't tell you about, prostate cancer. I know that's very painful. So Michael said titties ain't never hurt nobody.
Looking at
Right.
these comments, Mike and Trevor are crazy. They titties ain't never hurt nobody. I think I've only had one mammogram in my life, and it was very unpleasant. I probably need to have more breast cancer runs in my family. My mom had it, and my grandmother's mom had it. So my mom and my great grandmother. But my last annual, my pap smear, I did have the doctor. She did a genetic thingy that they told me they wanted me to take to see if the gene for breast cancer is in me or whatever, and that was a negative. So I did that. But I know I probably still need to get. But y'all scare me listening to what you said about the probing and all of that pain. I don't have a high threshold for pain at all, period. So I be like passed out on the floor. I do have fibroids, and I've had them since my 20s. But I did have to get something done because they wanted to do a biopsy on my fibroids to see if they were cancerous or whatever. And that shit hurt like, I can't drop F-bombs because I don't want to have to put money in the jar. But she told me, oh, yeah, so before we get started, go ahead and take this pill because you're going to feel like you are contracting. Why didn't you give me this pill before? Like, I could have taken a pill before I left the house. Like, it takes a while for pain meds to wear off. So she gives it to me like a minute before she does what she does. I couldn't leave the doctor's office for over an hour because I was in so much pain just for them to see if my fibroid was cancerous. And I'm like, there could not have been another way for y'all to figure this out. Like, and like you're saying, we have all of this technology, all of this science. There should be easier and less painful ways for them to figure out, our medical statuses and things like that. All right. Let's talk about how the issues that we deal with our reproductive health can affect us. We're sticking with like the fibroids and the cervical cancer because I wanted to, talk more about that and think about some of the statistics. So I did some searching and I saw that as far as fibroids, in 2020, this research was done, and it says that nearly a quarter of Black women between the ages of 18 and 30 have fibroids, compared to only about 6% of white women, according to some of this. And by the age of 35, that number increases to 60%. And Black women are also 2 to 3 times more likely to have reoccurring fibroids or suffer from complications. So anybody that knows me and knows anything about my story, my fibroids played a major role in why my daughter was born 3 months early. I knew about my fibroids when I was in my 20s, but they weren't huge problems other than giving me heavy cycles and things like that. And the doctor that I had, the GYN that I had, her initial thing was always, oh, well, we could just go ahead and cut them out. But she never like really educated me on any other options. Her first thing was like, let's just cut them out. You're on summer break, let's just cut them out. But that wasn't something that I just wanted to jump to. And then come years later, I find out that it played a role in my daughter being born so early because they had become infected. Three of the 9 had become infected while I was pregnant with her and grew 4 times their size. So it was like baby girl was fighting against fibroids, and the fibroids kind of won, like, okay, you got to go. But I feel like, and that leads to us knowing being more proactive with our health, knowing our rights, because I didn't know the conversations to have with my doctor as far as those fibroids. Like, I didn't know that she wasn't monitoring them during my pregnancy and things like that. And that's because the education wasn't there. I'm just relying on the doctors. But let's talk about how those fibroids and things like the cervical cancer, like how they affect us emotionally, mentally, and our body, especially in our Black community. Shaka shaking her head. You got something you want to say? Go ahead.
I mean, I don't always want to talk, But no, I actually had a hysterectomy last year. It's been a year and 2 months. I had a hysterectomy. I still have my ovaries, but yeah, I had a hysterectomy. I found out that I had fibroids early. Like I was in my I think my mid-20s, and I wasn't having any symptoms. I wasn't having any I didn't know. I just went for my pap, and I think I was having pain on like my right side or something. And he said, "Oh, let's do a vaginal ultrasound." Did the vaginal ultrasound. They came back with I had ovarian cyst that had ruptured, is why I was feeling the pain. But then they also told me that I had 3 fibroids. Nothing to be alarmed about. These are very common in women, especially African American women, is what I was told. So I didn't feel bad about it. But I was like, wow, I never heard anything about fibroids. And I think I was about 25 or 26 when I got home. I remember reaching out to a couple of friends and some family members, and it was like, yeah, girl, I got fibroids too. I was like, what? And then I realized almost every woman that I knew that was African American had either 2 or more fibroids. And I was like, wow, if I had never brought this conversation up, it would have never happened. I would have never known that, I had fibroids. And then when I was, I don't know how old I was, but it was in 2016, I started to have these really, really heavy, heavy, heavy cycles. And I mean, heavy cycles. And I couldn't figure out why my cycles were so heavy. I go to my gynecologist. She's like, okay, let's do another pelvic ultrasound. Let's just measure. Because I told her I had fibroids. She's like, okay, let's see how big they are. At the time, and when I initially found out, I remember them telling me they were the size of like a small lemon, right? So I was like, oh, okay, a lime. They were the size of a lime. Okay, that's not that big, but I don't know. Long story short, in 2016, they were the size of large lemons. And when I finally had my hysterectomy last year, January of 22, they told me that my fibroids were the size of the largest grapefruit I could imagine. I had 3, one dead center of my uterus and 2 on the outskirts. And I was like, oh, wow. And I started to panic a little bit because I didn't know what to do. So they gave me options. It was like, oh, you can do interventional radiology where we can just go in and zap the fibroid, but it might come back. We don't know. And we can just do it again to remove it. Or I could have something, I think they called it a myectomy, where they just remove the fibroid. However, you're not technically menopausal yet. So because you're not menopausal, there's a great possibility it can come back. Or you can just get a hysterectomy. And in my mind, granted, I was 44 or 43 when I found out, I was like, I don't want a hysterectomy. Not like I'm going to have any kids because I had my tubes tied in 2016. But still, as a woman, it's that, that's my womb. That's what makes me a woman, right? So I almost felt like if I had them remove that, I mean, I'm still a woman, but am I? You know what I mean? Like I had these mixed feelings about it. And I started to talk to my doctor about it. And she was like, it's common to feel that way. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought it was something made up in my mind. But when I tell you I had the heaviest cycle, I had the heaviest cycle. And then I started to question, what if I did want to have, more children? What if I'm dating a guy who doesn't have any kids? And granted, it's crazy to be trying to get pregnant at 44 or 45, but, Janet did it at 50. So technically I still could, I don't look it, but, whatever. But then my daughter, of course, was like, don't do that. Hell no, don't do that because that's going to be my kid. Don't do that. I was like, okay, fine, I won't. But, it was still something I was worried about. And crazy enough, I had the hysterectomy and I actually had it Mother's Day weekend, but it is what it is. Right. Monumental. But it is what it is. I had no issues, no problems. But the crazy thing about this fibroid was this. The one that was in the middle of my uterus, because, your uterus is shaped like, kind of like that, right? And here's your cervix. So it was dead center. This thing had attached itself to my bladder. and was starting to protrude through my uterus and just growing like a mind of its own. So normally when you get a hysterectomy, in your vagina, but towards the back is where you get the sutures. That's where they remove it. I had to get sutures in the front and in the back. Like, you are losing an entire organ. So it's a major surgery. And it just didn't register that this was a major surgery. It's a major surgery. And this thing started to like grow a mind of its own. Like, it was just coming out of the uterus. Like, it was about to take over my body. Had I not been up on my GYN health like I should, and had I not had this had this ultrasound just to measure to see how big it is or what it is, I mean, this thing was, God knows what would have happened if I wasn't a compliant patient. You know what I'm saying? So, ladies, please, if you do nothing else, make sure you stay up on what you need to stay up on, because what we think is going on in our bodies can change. In 4 years, it made a huge turn and started to grow a mind of its own. So it's scary. And then you think about a lot of African American women. I read this. A lot of African American women who do, are more likely to get fibroids than any other race of woman. The crazy part is, when we were little girls, how many of us had these, hair relaxers and these perms? And now there's all these lawsuits about what?
Ma'am, ma'am, you took the words right out of my mouth. I'm sorry. I know I'm gonna get a lot of pushback for this, and I'm gonna say it here. If in 2023 you are still perming your hair, you refuse to be woke.
Stop.
If you are a woman and everybody's like, oh, it's your preference and it doesn't matter, like, literally, if it is 2023 and you are still perming your hair, we need to have a session. I need you to sit down on my floor and we need to discuss what that means to the imagery of what you believe about yourself, what you've been told, and even after you've been offered the information that is correct and accurate, and there's data to support toxins that we have been given for decades. And now we are seeing, because it takes about 10 to 20 years to have the data to support the findings of the impact of what we were ingesting. So now we're in that time. And so if you are a Black woman and you are still perming your hair, we need to have a conversation. That's a whole panel discussion, because we are not, you're living subconsciously.
Yes.
You're living subconsciously, and you are choosing the narrative of what may come, and there's no question, like the chemicals that you find in a relaxer, you can't put that on a rat. So that they can burn through your scalp.
It's true. It's true. They don't even touch animals.
Be our next episode. We have to set a date, but remember, our next episode is
right. Adjust your crown. Right.
Into that. Set a date.
No, ma'am. So, and another thing that I was thinking about too, Shaka, is that the amount of us that have adult eczema, like all of these skin
Yes.
So many women. I'm like, it could be 5 of us in at the table, and we all.
Right.
And I didn't get it until I became an adult.
Right. But not to cut you off, Dr. Mia, but Nene, shout out to my girl Priya. Hey Priya, I don't know if you're watching, but 2 years ago, I went through the worst skin acne as an adult you could imagine. It was horrible. I had no idea that my skin, I didn't even break out this bad when I was a teenager. It's horrible. The things that we are putting in our bodies. And I'm not saying, oh, everybody need to be vegan and everybody need to do this, because I ain't gonna lie, I love me a great steak and I love my dairy. I don't know if I can ever be vegan, but I just make better, more conscious decisions of what I'm eating and putting into my body, because what goes in must come out. And that's what's coming out. It's crazy.
Right. And so, the hard truth is, part of the fibroid epidemic within the Black community is cultural, and the other part is what we eat.
Environmental.
Right. It's a lot of it has to do with what we eat.
Yep.
And we talk about this all the time about the long term effect of slavery and how we were taught what were food
Mhm.
that were required that we put into our bodies. And I
Yep.
tell people all this time, I'm like, the what I spend most of my money on is food. Right. So I'm not a big purse person. I'm not shopping. I'm not Prada Gucci, but I will go to Whole Foods and get me, you know, the steak from Whole Foods, or I mean, I can remember the days when I used to put 99 cents in my mouth, right? Because that's, I had to get them 99 chicken nuggets, and every now and then I still try, I'll get the chicken nuggets for the kids, but I had to face reality that when you get a burger from a fast food joint, that cow has been dead for 6 months. Period. The amount of preservatives that they put in that. So when we're talking about fibroids and we're talking about our reproductive health, it is what you are putting in your mouth, what you are eating, because what you decide to eat should be close to cleanliness and gold. And so if you wouldn't treat your tangible items that you hold of high value, you have to start having that thought process when you're eating your food. Because I'm sorry, like if I do eat a burger, I'm gonna do it from a restaurant because I know that they've kind of like gotten their beef from, and it's something that at least, maybe it's been dead 30 days. But just think about, when we eat our meat, how long it's been dead and what that does to the body, because that's not how we were created to ingest food. We were farming communities, and we would have our food within the time frame that it was killed. So all of this is impacting our internal organs. That's why things are shutting down. Life expectancy, like I said last time, has dropped from 80 to 74. So if you are not sure what to do to change the course, the first thing to do is to think about what you're putting in your mouth. Spend more money on your food. Do not put that 99-cent burger in your body. I'm sorry. Don't do it. Because my children will tell you, and it's terrible because it's like good and bad. I was like, I've raised conscious children when I'm like, what do you guys want to eat? And my son's like, I want sushi. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like they want Japanese food opposed to Chinese food, like just stuff like that, of teaching them to be very conscious of what they put in their mouths. Now, do we roll up in Wendy's sometimes? I'll be like, like it's like that last minute, but we don't make it a habit. We're not doing 99-cent burgers. That Whole Food bill, I have a Prime account. I'm using my discounts. I cut coupons. But I'm gonna pay for some food. My meal will
Wait,
always
you
be
say,
over $100. I'm telling you right now, because I want the lamb.
wait, I heard you say I have a Prime account. Amazon Prime?
Yeah, so if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can use it at Whole Foods and get the discount, because Whole Foods Prime buy out Whole Foods. And
Ain't
so
nobody tell me.
yes, Prime bought out Whole Foods. And so there's a whole place on your app and where you get the discounts, and you can purchase your food and you get the Prime discount. And yes, I do. Yes, I do clip coupons. I don't care what nobody say. They still work.
Okay,
But
I
yeah,
just
it's
made a
what we put
sticker.
in our mouths.
And
Okay.
can I say something really quick? Mike and
Yeah, go ahead.
all the other listeners out there, this is also a conversation to have with your daughters. Male, female, or not, what they put in will come out because. I have my 10-year-old niece now, and she's starting acne. She hasn't started her cycle yet, but we talk about, she's chubby, she's overweight. But I was also a chubby little girl. My daughter was a chubby little girl. It is what it is. This is what we breed in my family. But I also want to make sure that you live a long, healthy life. So you have to start incorporating, just like you start incorporating. I think it was Lim that asked that question about when is it good to, start to have the talk with your child. What age? This is a part of that talk. because acne starts to happen. We women know, normally we know when we're going to get our period, because if we don't have that app, like Dr. Mia suggested, you get what? A bump on your face. And you already know, that's my period bump. So also talk to your kids and start being conscious about what they're putting in their bodies, because it's going to come out in their skin. Unless you want to be that dad that's out there spending all this money on Fenty to try to cover up that blemish, and then you got to spend all this money, with Priya. Y'all go see her at Relax Beauty. Y'all gonna have to start going to go get your facials with her. You see what I'm saying? So be conscious of this thing, of these things that they're putting in their bodies. This too is a part of that conversation, the talk. They need to know. Our young men too.
Right, because Shaka, your coochie don't like milk.
Yeah, I'm not a milk drinker. She
You say you
enjoys
like
water.
dairy.
I said I enjoy my dairy. I do enjoy my dairy, but in moderation. In
Yeah,
moderation.
'cause that conversation. It was a hard one to have
Yeah.
because I love cheese.
Right. Same. Listen. I love me a good charcuterie board. Okay, a good old charcuterie board. Ooh, baby. Mm. With some of that brie and that smoked Gouda, baby. However, I care about
Oh,
my
hell
pH levels more.
Mike, she can have fries, but the difference is you have to make those fries at home, because
Yes.
when you watch McDonald's Super Size Me, like you have, like, let it be part of the quest, right? For us to master the fries so they taste better than McDonald's fries. Let that be y'all thing, because when you watch Super Size Me, they took those fries and they put them in a jar. And 30 days later, those fries look the exact same that it did when they pulled it out of the oil. So it represents how hard it is for your body to break down that food. And they took a regular ma and pop fries and put it in a jar, and then that fries started to deteriorate. It started to decay, which is the natural progression of what food should do in your body. So if the food that we are eating is not digesting, they are creating malignants in our bodies. They're creating carcinomas. They are foreign objects still resting in our bodies long after they're supposed to have passed. And so now the body's like, oh, what is this? And it starts building stuff around it, and it becomes like, make your fries at home. The McDonald's fries is deadly. They don't break down.
They good though,
They go,
but
oh,
yeah,
they finna get me. I'm just quoting a source from Super Size Me.
don't come after us.
Right.
Righty. I'm gonna jump over to the comment that Lim posted a while ago before we move on. We're hitting that hour and a half mark. So we're gonna put up Lim's post. We're gonna respond to it, and then I have some interesting questions for you, ladies. So Lim's question is: what else can fathers or father figures do to be more supportive in preparing our daughters for these life changes and future experiences? We talked about the initial feelings that you may have with your vagina. We talked about our cycles. We talked about the reproductive health and all of these other things. So what are some other things that they can do to support their little girls in preparing them for all of these changes that they are definitely going to experience?
What happened to Shaka? Oh, okay, there she is.
I'm here. Sorry. Sorry.
I was like, what happened? I think I always reiterate this, is that we are living in a time where we can absolutely be playing the chess of life and not the checkers of life, right?
Yeah.
We have an opportunity to be proactive. We have science at our fingertips. We are in the information age. And of course, we're emerging into this whole new space of technology and AI. So there is nothing or no information that exists out there that we are not privy to anymore. I think I had just shared with Mike the other day, like, Harvard gives free courses, right? So like I've taken an economics class at Harvard because I really wanted to understand, and it's free. It's on Apple University, or you could just Google it, and it's like 7-week courses. And of course you can pay to get the certificate if you want. But I'm like, yeah, maybe if it's worth something that I want, but like literally, we are in the information age. You have access to free courses to find out about things that you might not have been privy to or wasn't passed down to you. So you don't have to wait or anticipate the need of your child. Look at the books that talks about the things that a young teenage girl is going to experience and prepare for it. Put things in place to make sure you have an answer and a plan for that, because we have to be proactive. You know, puberty is coming. You know it's coming. It's a no bueno. So what do you have to do to prepare that child for puberty? Have, you know, the pads and learning how to use the pad, having to change your panties, having a little, you know, we got a whole party going on over here. Having the change of panties, the little pouch that has the pads in there, the panty liners, like, and you know, if you don't know, YouTube know. I'm sure. I'm sure somebody on YouTube will be able to give you some of the information, and you know, Pour Your Heart Out could do a whole segment on that too, and you could just come and look, find out over here how to prepare your young daughters for puberty and how to get them ready for womanhood. So let's be proactive. We don't have to wait till it happens to decide to do something. You know it's coming. It's inevitable. The science has already informed us of that. So just be prepared.
I like that. And One Love, thank you for sharing that book recommendation. What's Going On Down There by Karen Gavelle, I'm assuming. So I wrote that down so I can check it out. She says it's more for boys, but girls can benefit from it as well. So I'm definitely going to check that out. Thank you for sharing that. All righty. Shaka, anything you wanted to share with the initial question of what else can fathers and father figures do to be more supportive with the girls and preparing them for those life changes and what to expect as they get older?
Just, I agree with Dr. Mia said. I also want to piggyback off of One Love. That is a great book. It's a great book. So please, whomever, check that out. Thank you for that recommendation. But other than it's just, think about it. When we want to find out information as adults, what do? We go straight to Google, right? Y'all go to Google for everything. Go to Google for that. If you don't have, a woman in your life, or a male that's open to have that conversation with the young boys about what's going on, you can YouTube it. We YouTube everything else. It's so much technology and it's literally at our fingertips. It's no longer when I was a child growing up and you had to go get the encyclopedia and look up whatever, and the L was always missing, right? We could never find the L, never could find the book. I don't know where the L book went, but it's bigger than that now. Technology is literally in our hand every day. Whether you're on social media or not, it's still in your hand every day. Utilize it. It's there for a reason. Utilize this stuff.
I agree. YouTube University is for more than just foolishness and drama. You know, you can learn some stuff on there as well. All righty. So thank you
World
all for the
star.
questions. Thank you all for the questions in the comments. Now I'm going to get down to some questions for our panelists. I want to know if there is one, what is the funniest misconception or myth about vaginas that you have ever heard? The funniest misconception or myth that you've ever heard about vaginas. And usually it probably came from a man because they don't have one, but
But
we
I
have
think.
some young single women out there as
Oh wait,
well.
go ahead, Shaka. You have your hand up.
No, 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 no. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm still thinking. You go ahead. Go, Dr. Mia.
I think y'all simplify. Yeah, the misconception that it's as simple as a penis.
Very complicated, as you heard
A
tonight.
vagina is very complicated. You have your clitoris, you have your vulva, you have the actual whole right. I gotta look up the proper terminology, but it is more complicated than you believe. That's the myth. Like, you think because you just put your finger in there and you go "Nyeh, nyeh, nyeh, nyeh." No, like, what are you doing? Like, stop. Like,
One myth is that we like that. Yang, 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 yang.
and it's made out of paper mache. Like, it's so delicate in there.
Right.
The walls are like literally like paper. Like, you being aggressive with it. Like, my My vagina is very delicate. Like
Think.
can't just be in there like just diving in like first base. Like I need you to be gentle with, like there's a difference between like the penis penetrating and you're like, thrusting. But like when your fingers is near my vagina, I need you first of all, you need to make sure your nails cut. Like
Clean.
I
Yes.
understand why y'all believe that your nails need to be cut, because you're gonna cut me. You're gonna cut me
Right.
because there's paper in there.
Right.
Like literally anything bothers it. So please cut your nails. Like I don't care what you got to do. I don't want it down there. So I think that's a misconception that it's like it's made out of cardboard, not cardboard paper. Like it's made out of paper mache, the stuff that you like sculpt with, or the doilies that you use. Like it's really delicate in there.
I love your examples and analogies, Mia. Mike said that he's going to hold his comments in this convo until after dark. Go ahead. It's after 10 o'clock. Go ahead and post your comments. Shaka, are there any misconceptions or myths that you have heard about the vagina?
The two biggest issues that I have, well, before I say my two biggest issues, I agree with Dr. Mia. But men watch porn and think that porn is how you're supposed to perform. Porn is for entertainment purposes only. Okay? I don't know if y'all can hear me. I'm not sure. I'm going to say it again. Men, porn is for entertainment purposes only. Okay? It's more to it than that. It's more to it. Okay? But that's for another conversation. My second biggest or funniest, I guess, misconception is I thought that I needed to eat a whole bunch of fruit and do all the stuff so it could taste like fruit and it could be fruity. There is no taste, okay? Mine is water. That's what it's supposed to be. Drink your water. Hydrate. If you right here telling me, oh, my ex-girl tastes like peaches, you a lie. What was she rubbing down there to make it taste and smell like peaches? It do not taste like peaches. It shouldn't taste like nothing. Okay, nothing. So don't come to me telling me about your ex and the girl that you used to mess with because you listen to the porn and you watch the porn and you feel like that's what that ain't it. It ain't it, bro. That ain't it. Learn your woman. Not all of us are the same. Learn your woman. Some are G spot stimulators. Some are C spot stimulators. If you don't know what that means, this is why you shouldn't be fucking with women. I'm sorry, you shouldn't be messing with women. This is why. This is why I'll pay my money. I'll pay my $40. It's fine. This is why you shouldn't be messing with women, because y'all don't know what y'all are doing. Okay? Learn your woman. Clean yourselves. Okay? Be clean. Because what I'm not going to do is have somebody throw off my pH balance. If you don't know what that is, again, you should not be doing these things with women if you don't know what we're talking about. Okay? That's just my gripe. But other than that, I love my guys. I love you guys. I love you all.
Mike, you are funny. He said women need to know that too. God knows he's not going to go 5 rounds for this orgasm.
Oh, Shaka, you brought
So
up the
I think he
pH
said,
balance.
maybe, Mike, are you saying the women need to know what satisfies them? Oh my goodness.
I
All
know me
right.
very well.
I don't
Trust
know.
me.
Shaka, you
Thank
brought
you,
up
One
something.
Love.
Shaka, you brought up something very
Go
good.
ahead, Mia.
What?
Throwing off the pH balance.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about
He
it.
ended up with yeast infections and all of this
Let's
Man,
talk
foolishness.
about it.
the irony of it is that you believe that it's me and it's really you, because you have to make sure you have a clean shaft, and that's pulling the shaft back and make sure that the inside is clean, because if you're not circumcised, you are harboring bacteria. And so it's very important. And no, I know I'm gonna get in trouble for this. Like, look at me telling me how to clean my penis. I can just hear Trevor. Just like for women, it's important for us to clean the inside of the vulva, right? So when if we are we have bacteria, we have natural bacterias in our vaginas, right? And we're taught that bacteria is a bad thing. No, there are natural cultures within our vagina. And so you have to make sure that your bacteria and my bacteria get along. Because if our bacteria don't get along, I am going to get yeasty. I am going to have a yeast infection. And it could be as simple as maybe something that you ate. Maybe you didn't pull back the skin and you cleaned up afterwards, or it could be a mirror of things. So like when women get yeast infection, it's not just automatic something that she did. Sorry, no. That's why I stopped threesomes. Coochie bacteria do not mix. Right. You would literally have to like go take a shower, change condoms, and then switch it up, because you cannot introduce different cultures into the vagina, because she is going to be very upset, because she was like, I don't recognize this bacteria. And she's going to start fighting against it. And so then now you like, it's in it, because a yeast infection is your body pushing it out, like trying to cleanse itself. So understand, and that's why it's important for women not to have multiple partners, because your body don't like multiple bacteria, and every man has his own bacteria, and your vagina knows that you are being trifling, because she's like, culture number 1, culture number 2, culture, and you putting all that culture, them bacteria do not mix. So women, if you yeasty, you got to really evaluate your partnerships and how you're sleeping with different men and the impact of that on your vagina, because she don't like it. And if you have one partner and you're yeasty, maybe it's them, and you guys have to figure out what is it about his penis that your vagina don't like.
Mike said the threesome stopped being fun because he had to keep a soapy rag around. He said one woman is enough. Yes, that is so true. That pH balance and all of that is, and usually again, the women, we're the ones that have to suffer through that. Child.
Yeast infections are the worst. They are the worst.
They
They are
are.
God's punishment. It's his
It
wrath.
really is.
It's his wrath on the vagina.
Jesus.
Let's not even
I'm
talk.
about to have
Okay,
a flashback.
we're not even talking. Just okay. I agree. Yeast infections are sucky, but let's talk about bacterial vaginosis. Okay, that
Oh yeah.
BV. Okay, that fishy odor. Okay, that's off pH balance, people. Okay, it's off. So keep your little soapy rags, Mike. You're gonna need them. I'm gonna tell you what Dr. Mia was saying when she was like, because your vagina doesn't like, this bacteria. Right? Maybe if you have one partner and you keep getting the BV, which is bacterial vaginosis, you keep getting the thrown off pH balance, and you keep getting, these yeast infections. What is it that your vagina's not liking about his penis? The other vaginas that his penis has been in. Okay? Listen,
That part.
listen, listen. I'm not knocking nobody for what they do. Do you, boo? Okay, get it how you live or whatever they say. But what I'm saying is, to each his own. But her right here, I used to, and Priya waxes me. Okay, she is my esthetician. I have been going to her for about 6, 7, 8 years now. All right, my man, Priya, and my gynecologist are all on the same page, okay? We all know what's happening. Everybody knows who everybody is, because what we not gonna do is have my pH balance thrown off, okay? Because then I am knucking and bucking and ready to fight. We not doing that, okay? So everybody need to be clean, learn how to wash yourselves properly. Don't all that, let's go work out, and you go for a hard day's work and you sweating, and then, ooh, let's get it in. Absolutely not. Go take a shower first. And let's talk about this. Let's talk about having sex and women not going to go pee afterwards. You need to do that, ladies.
Yeah.
Before and after. It's very
Yeah,
important for your vaginal health.
we can't be trying to do what we see in the movies where they just have sex and then just go to sleep. No, you got to get up. Don't
Entertainment purposes only.
that's TV. We can't be doing that. Yeah, we can do
At
what we
all.
gotta do, and then we got
Right.
to get up and go pee and wash.
Listen, I love a good, a good session and then a good cuddle afterwards. But before we do that cuddle part, hold on, here go your rag. Clean up. Let me put some warm water on that for you. You good? All
No,
right,
I'm
cool. Let me
good.
go ahead and take care of that. You want to be romantical? Let's go take a shower afterwards, okay? Ain't nobody gonna lay all there in those spots and just, oh my God, baby, it was so beautiful. It was so great. Clean the thing. Clean it. Go pee and clean the thing.
She
Right.
said, "Clean the thing."
I remember there was this somebody I was interacting with, right? And we had a problem with the fact that afterwards I got up to pee and I'm like, I need to wash off. Like I'm not the
What?
let's lay in the sticky icky. Like I have the and if the sheets are wet, we're gonna change them like right now. Like we're not gonna just lay here and
Ew.
uh but vagina monologue juice. Venus. Like we're not
Can
just
we
gonna
have a
lay
can,
in it.
can we have a talk with Mike for a minute with his comment?
What
Dr.
is it?
Mia.
Mike,
Dr. Mia. Dr. Mia,
Mike
get your
said,
boy.
just read the comment.
That's why I
Dr.
clean
Mia.
faces. I clean it off and it's
Thank
one
you
less
for
Dr.
keeping it
Mia.
real, Mike. I appreciate it.
That's why I finish on faces. Yeah, I know I'm slow. What? I'm slow.
His product is on the face, Dr. Mia. They say to clean up the clear
Facial,
skin. You see the clear skin, the
the
right that he
facials.
on the face. He on the
Oh my
face, Dr. Mia. Right. Mike,
God.
Mama Mia is in the
We love
room,
you, Mike.
okay? What is you doing? Do we love Mike? Do we do. We love you, Mike.
We love Mike. Keeps
We
it
do
real.
love
Thank
Mike.
you, Mike.
We
Keep the
appreciate
chat
the faces.
interested.
So
All right. Hold on. Next question. Hold on.
Dr. Mia had to leave.
I'm
See what
so
you did, Mike?
I
Oh, she's
literally
back.
got off the
Okay.
road, got on the podcast, and so I'm trying to. I'm in between stuff in my face. I'm telling you right now. So that's why I'm
Eat,
coming.
girl.
I haven't
That's
eaten. I'm
Handle
okay.
your
so
business.
hungry.
Eat, girl. Eat, eat. I'm drinking my calories tonight. I'm about to refill in a second.
What advice? What advice? No, if you could have an open and honest conversation with your teenage self about sexual health, what would you say to your teenage self? Just being open, honest, everything that you know now, what you've experienced. What
Hold
conversation
it.
would you have? Yeah.
Hold it. Hold it to the highest bidder. There was an Asian woman, 21 years old, sold her vagina to the highest bidder, lost her virginity to the highest bidder. That's what I would tell my teenage self. I'm just being honest. That's
How
what I
much
would
she
tell.
made? You know
It
how
was
much she made?
like a million, over a million. It was a million and something, like a million point two or something like that.
I think I
Think
remember
about
hearing
it.
that.
Is that
Think about it. You
prostitution?
21 years old with $1.2 million in your pocket.
But is that prostitution?
I mean, is it?
If you
It's a
sell it,
contract. No, I don't think I'm. I mean, it's a contract. It's a contract. I mean, indecent proposal, maybe, but
decent proposal, yeah.
I mean, maybe.
I would tell my younger self, definitely. So I think I've had this conversation before. Like if when my mom was telling me about not having sex, she equated it was it was equal to my value, right? Not just that if you have sex, you're going to hell, right? If you have sex, you're a sinner, but understanding my value and how it's associated with my vagina and who I give it to. And if she taught it from that perspective, like you are of value and you are of worth, and what you possess is something that other people desire, and your
Yes,
power is
yes,
in you holding on to it until you have come to a place where you're with somebody that is also worthy or equal of value to share in this experience, right? Because when it's just a blatant statement that's something that just really just like in the clouds, it don't really make sense, you can't quantify it, for you. And then once you do it and you not in and you don't wake up in hell, then everything's like it loses you, like, right? So I think having to, I definitely would have waited. I definitely would have waited. Um, would definitely wouldn't have had sex in high school. Because like I said, my daughter's 17. I don't want that for her. I think my sister was 25 when she had sex.
Oh, wow.
But just just the narrative as to why I should wait. I would tell my younger self, like, you're worth it. You're worth being with somebody that respects you, loves you, and what you choose to share with them um is yours, right? Like that's one thing we can own. We own our virginity. Like that is something that we own. Like your parents don't own it. Like of course in foreign countries like they could sell it or
Yeah.
they proposition it, but in this day, like in America, you own that. And so it is something that you have to choose to give away. And then when you do decide to give away, here are some criterias for that, right? Not give it away, but when you choose to share this with somebody, here are some of the criterias. Like, yeah, I wouldn't have sex. Because when I think back to it, it was like it was good, and then it was not. I would have
And
waited for
I'm
just.
similar to what
Oh,
yeah, I'm similar
sorry.
to what Dr. Mia said. Even though I wasn't having sex as a teenager, I didn't start until 21. I still wish that I would have waited because think looking back on that, it wasn't anybody special or anything like that. So I feel like, dang, you waited this long and then it was not with whom it should have been with. So
What?
I wish that I would have.
I granted, I get it. I get what y'all say. I hear y'all. I hear y'all. But honestly, I'm still really good friends with my first. You know who he is, me. I'm really good for like we good. Like I was at the
I'm
hospital for
not.
the birth of his first daughter. Like we good friends to this day. We could that's my peoples. That's my man's in them. Like that's my boy. But yeah, I would have waited only because if I could have sold it for $1.2 million. I'm just saying.
Right?
That's all I'm
But I
saying.
like
I mean,
the comment that Trevor left though. There will be a lot of hurt feelings once they see what they get on the open market.
that ain't my problem. My bank account, that ain't my problem. I got my what? Look, you knew what you was getting into. If I told you I'm selling, if I am, you are paying for this virginity of mine. You know I'm a virgin, so I know nothing. Okay, I know nothing. But that's neither here nor there. So it is a contractual agreement. I know nothing. You get that whatever. I get my 1.2. Just
A
problem.
no money back guarantee.
Right. Yo, man, like, cheers. Look, I'll drink to that. What turns
Oh,
out
hey,
I work.
Mike out here with the. Let me put the first comment back up. So Mike says that. Oh gosh, where did it go? He says, no, hold on. It's a lot of comments popping up. So he says, this
Okay,
is
yeah.
crazy. He's having this conversation with a coworker that he just met. She's 18 years
Mhm.
old and he sees such innocence and greatness in her. He's trying to instill in
Mhm.
her that there is no rush for the unsheltered life. And then it
There's no
turns
rush.
out that he works with her mom and she told her mom and her mom thanked him and brought him a bag of mangoes.
Aw.
That's where you get all the mangoes from, huh?
Oh, I thought it was
Your
Johnson
mom
Manor,
says
and you
that,
around here getting mangoes somewhere else, Mike.
right? Might just get
I'm gonna
mangoes
throw
from
a wrench.
whoever. You getting mangoes from whoever throwing them out there.
Right. Mm.
Myself from mangoes.
Mango slut. He's a mango thought. That's what he is, you mango thought.
Trevor says he
Throw a
can't
wrench.
work with the
I'm gonna throw
current
a wrench.
man knowing that you still talk to your first. How does that work? So, Shaka, you want to
How
answer
does
that?
what did he say? How does that work with the current man knowing that you still talk to you? Listen, we all adults, okay? My first is married with children, okay? When his mother passed away, I was there at the wake with her, introduced again when she had her first child. My cousin was actually in the hospital at the time. We ran into each other like in the hallway randomly. Why are you here? Oh, my cousin had an aneurysm. He was like, oh, my wife just gave birth to our first daughter. Oh my God, let's go see her. Like, if you know me, if you my man, you know that most of my exes I'm still in contact with. It's nothing there. Because once you my ex, you my ex. You know, that's why, what the lady say? The lady said, I fry chicken hard the first time. That's why I don't have to double back. Right. If you my ex, you're my ex for a reason. I'm just saying, I'm cool. I'm cool people, and I'm pretty sure there's not one ex that don't want to come back. But that's neither here nor there. It's another conversation. It works because I communicate. I talk to them. They already know. Now, if you got a problem with that, I get it. You got a problem with that, then go ahead on because these are my people. These are literally my friends. Like we hang out. We are good people. We have conversations. We talk. It's open. If one of my exes calls me and I'm with my current dude, they already know what it is because I'm not sugarcoating anything. I'm not hiding nothing. I'm not going behind nobody back. I'm not sneaking around. I'm not doing none of that. We keeping it. I'm a middle-aged woman, Trevor. Okay, I am 45. I am not running no games on
I like
nobody.
saying
This
that.
is what it is. I do. I enjoy. I enjoy being a middle-aged woman. I enjoy.
I am a middle-aged woman.
Yes,
All
I
right,
am.
what
I am a
Mike
middle-aged woman.
I was gonna throw a wrench.
said,
Hmm.
me too. I call it, I don't recycle once we are season.
That's
All
right.
right,
That's right. Throw the wrench, Mia.
go
Dr. Mia,
ahead.
throw the
Oh,
wrench.
Mia, you're trying to
I
speak.
was
Go
gonna
ahead.
throw a wrench into the weight conversation, right? Because
Hmm.
this is the hard reality that as you get older, it's harder to have children, right?
Hmm.
Because I think about it, I was like, thinking about having that baby at 35 versus 25. Like, if I would have known how hard it was at 35, I definitely would have popped them all out at 25. Because what people don't understand is that the kingdom suffered violence, and the violence taken by force. It's like the body suffers violence when you are having a child. Like it is a heart wrenching, earth shaking, life altering event. Like you can die. And I don't think people understand the severity of giving birth. And so, do you do that when you're younger and there's the bounce back and you have youth on your side? Um, or do you do that at 35, 37 when, if, like I said, if the life expectancy is 74, you're halfway through your life and now you're giving birth? So it's kind of like, yes, wait, but is that really how we were designed to wait? Because our bodies are telling us something different. So it's kind of, I emphasize that when I have families that are like, they have teenage daughters and they want them to not rush and they want them to focus on their school. And I really want them to just, be able to get a college education. But then at 35, 37, she got all of that and she don't have a man or children. Because what did we instill as value as it relates to what is important? And so when you have young children that are dating, how you guide them through that process and help them understand what this is so that they can mature into a relationship that is long term and produce children from it at the age that is appropriate, because our bodies is not telling us the way. It can't handle children at 35. Like the reason why the Brat and Janet had children at 50, because they got billions, millions, like they got a whole team. But I'm not having a child at 50. Like my body finna shut down. I might die. Like for real, for real. There's no Sarah
Barely,
here.
barely had it at 35.
Ma'am. So it's kind of like, do you wait? And if I do wait, am I going to be able to do this at 37? I have a friend now, married. She's a, speech pathologist, like everything. She got everything, but they can't have kids. And absolutely, um, the priority was school, because Caribbean people like go to school. You don't need no boyfriend. You don't need no friends. I don't send you to school to make friends. I don't send you to school for a boyfriend. Okay, so when I'm supposed to do it?
I like that. So, like you say, now you're at that age where you have the career, you have all of that, but then you don't have the man, and then you got to go through that whole process. And Okay, now you're ready to have kids and you're older in age. So it's like what Mike said, focus on finding the right union a bit more than career. And I do agree with that. All right. So we have hit 2 hours. I'm going to ask us one last question before we do our final words. So the question is, if your vagina could talk, what do you think it would say about your life's journey? About its life's journey? Let's think about that. If your vagina could talk, what do you think it would say about your life journey? Go ahead, sis.
Can I say the N word? Can I say the N word? I can. I
You
can
can
still
say
say
anything but
one.
the F word.
Okay, nigga, we made it. Okay, that's what she would say right now. Girl, we done went through all the things and we have made it. We know what we like. We know what we enjoy. We are verbal about it. We express it. Matter of fact, I can teach you a thing or two. Okay, because Shaka in her 20s thought she knew the thing, but Shaka, as a middle aged woman, because I do enjoy saying middle aged woman. Um, listen. My 20s were fun. I'm not gonna take nothing from it. I had a blast in my 20s, but at 45, baby, okay, listen. With or without you, sir, I'm gonna get to where I need to be. All right. We have had conversations. We have had me and her. We have had deep conversations. Okay. We know what we like. We know what we don't like. Okay. We are very verbal about these things. We good. Okay. And if you don't know what to do, I will show you. I can tell you what to do. I can't speak for your ex and your future and chick over here and the chick over there. But for this right here, we made it. That's what I would say. Yeah. That's what she would say to me. Girl, kudos to you.
I think
All right.
my vagina. She's
My
like,
cheeks
yes,
hurting.
you made it.
Oh gosh. Hold on. Let me see what Mike talk about. Okay, my vagina would say, "We had a good run. Let's get a black and mild and a glass of mango
Vagina.
juice and white henny and chill."
You so
Black and
crazy.
mild.
Oh
First of
my
all,
god,
Mike has a
Mike so
vagina.
bad.
He has a vagina. Mike, what's her name? I need you to put in the comment what her name is.
Mike made me so sick. All right, Dr. Mill, you want to chime in? If your vagina could talk, what do you think it would say about your life journey?
Yeah.
My vagina would say, girl, why did you take so long to get to know me? Um,
Mm.
because for a very long time I was afraid of her. Like, you
Oh.
know, again from the Bible, you can't masturbate, don't touch it. Not understanding your body and how you climax, what you like versus what you don't like. And so she would have definitely said, like, why did it take you so long to get to know me? And it was definitely because they told me to be scared of you because you do so much damage. Right? You got so much power, right? You out here wrecking lives because things happen over vagina that don't happen over nothing else in this world. People die. Like there's real wars started over vaginas. I would tell her how powerful she is, how much clout she actually has, what she's capable of, and definitely just tell her, like, don't talk to him. That drum major, don't talk to him. Don't let him make your heart beat. Leave him alone. That broke my heart, broke my spirit.
Oh.
Mike talking about buying you a wand.
What I
Dr.
need a
Mia.
wand for, Mike? He always be saying these mystical things.
Poor
Mike
thing.
crazy.
Poor thing. He is. He really is. She wants a wee vibe, Mike. She don't want no wine.
Oh, that's a toy.
Mm-hmm.
See, okay, so I guess I'm gonna take it. This to be a whole nother conversation. Like I have a problem with the toys because I feel
Why?
they desensitize my click. Like
It
it's too
Baby,
much.
you
Like
use
I
it too
want
to
much.
I
to an
want
extent. To an extent, Dr. Mia, everything in moderation. Now, I'm not saying I'm all for the toys, okay? I am very open minded. I am all for the toys. Here's the thing, if you do it daily, yes. If you do it on a regular, yes, it will desensitize you because keep in mind, no real man, I don't care what y'all think y'all stamina is, you're not going to be able to hold up, to my USB when I charge up my toy. You're not. You can say what you want to say, but you're no match. However, there's nothing like the real thing. So just in moderation, every now and again, it's cool. But if you're doing it on the regular, no man is ever going to be able to compete with that. That's just
let me
that's
tell
just the
you
truth.
let me tell you how sensitive my doily is, right? My vagina. Like, cause I remember the first time I discovered a shower head, right? And I was
Mhm.
like,
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's
and in my
wonderful.
and in my big age, I can still have a full orgasm from a shower.
Listen, yes.
Because like when I did start to engage with the toys, like for me, it's like that first fix, right? You like right? You start getting that twitch, right? You like, because for me, climaxing is, there's different stages, right? There's different levels, and depending on whether all five senses are connected, like there's those type of climaxes, and then there's just the clitoris stimulation kind of, there's just different kind of, and I just was like, I can't do this. This is too much. It's for me because like I feel like you're always trying to up the last climax. And so I'm like, I threw it out because I'm like, I don't want this. Like, this is not what I want. And I don't want this feeling. And I just needed to be connected to a man. Like, like the essence. Cause I'm a five senses type of girl, right? I want all five senses. Like, cause I'm a kisser. Like I want to be kissing and touching. And, I'm real like, I wouldn't say old school. I'm just like a five senses. Like all of my senses need to be turned on. Like I tell people all the time, I've never had a one night stand because I can't. Like I need to be connected to you in order for me to engage at that level. So it's hard for me with the toys. I think the little vibrators are not bad. But girl, when I started that thing, I was on my way to work trying to figure out like where's that thing? I just need to sit on it while I drive to work. It was too much.
I will say this. Like I said, I'm not against anything, but when I said the we vibe, like you can actually, there's this one particular toy, not to get off subject, ladies, but there's this one particular toy where there's an app that you download and he can control it wherever he is in the world. Okay. So it's Bluetooth. You can set certain patterns and vibrations to it. It's you, it's him. It's this wonderful, enjoying feeling. I'm not saying it's a every night ordeal, but it's a great thing. But just get to but and I realize too, a lot of adult women, they don't really know themselves. So we are so, hell bent on telling the man, you not doing this for me, and you not doing this for me, and you can't, and you gotta. But are you telling him what you like? Because half the time you don't even know what you like because you haven't even explored yourself. Like, I mean, needing not to go too far into or too depth into a conversation, but certain things can be learned at a drop of a dime. Remember our trip to the hustler store?
I was
I,
I was gonna ask you if you remember that. I was gonna
I
ask you if you
remember.
remember that.
I
I'll go
remember.
ahead and share. I'll go ahead and
Right,
share since
look, you're welcome. Y'all welcome. Y'all are welcome.
so,
Okay.
see, my sister was she was a helper. We were in Hustlers, and that was my first time ever buying a toy. And I don't know why. I think Trevor and I were just very very early, and I ended up not even needing
Very
the thing
early.
because I had the man, so I didn't need it. Ended up spending all that money on that damn thing. But while we
Right.
were in there, I expressed to her that I had never um given head before. Like that was I've never been an overly sexual person, and starting late, and I was just very, you do this, you do this, you do this, you don't do all that extra stuff. but I knew that okay, this is the man that I'm like, he ain't going nowhere. He can try, but I ain't going nowhere. So I knew that that's who I wanted to be with, and he was the one that I wanted to have that experience with for the first time. So my sissy, being the true sister that she was, we standing inside a hustler, and she walked me through what to do, and I think it went well because he loved it. So yeah,
Y'all married? Y'all still together?
we still together 10 years later. We still together. So yeah, some stuff can be learned at the drop of the hat because we right there inside of Hustler, and she walked me through it and explained, you do this, and she gave some great directions, and I went and tried it, and it worked out
And
great.
she got a ring on her finger, y'all. Not to toot my own horn, but toot be beat. Okay.
Girl, you could sell a course in that. You could be that could be your 1.2 mil right there. A virtual course.
I don't like to brag, but I'm gonna get in so much trouble later for this.
I might talk about Trev O'Shaughnessy big time.
What did you
Oh
say?
my gosh. No, Mike, hold on, let me put it talk about Trev O'Shaughnessy big time. One love. It's okay to explore in the bedroom. Absolutely, because you may not know
Yes,
what you like. At the age of
yes,
43, 43, right? Yeah, you 45, 43.
yes,
Oh, I'm almost your age. At the age of 43, I'm still, learning things that I like. So I'm enjoying, it's an enjoyment
yes,
being able to, try new things when you're with the right person. I think that matters too. Even if you're not married, just
yes,
somebody that you can connect with on that
yes,
level. So it doesn't necessarily being married, because you can be married and they not care about, you getting what you need to get out of it. So experimentation is great, being on that level,
yes.
and I think all of us are kind of like the same. Like, it's very mental,
Mental.
those this plays a huge part in everything else flowing and vibing, and
Yes.
yeah. Let me look and see what else we have. I don't want to miss anybody's comment before we leave. So Mike said, I'm just as good on the other side. I taught lesbian how to give good work. Mike, you gonna write you a course too? Shaka can do one, you can do one. I can throw it together in Canva and we can all get paid.
Run me my money.
All right, ladies, this was an amazing episode. Thank you two so much for joining me. When I knew that you two were going to make it, I knew it was going to be a great conversation. I really appreciate both of you always being able to make time to join me on these panels. You always give good conversation, good feedback, and we had fun. We educated some, but we still had fun.
Yes.
So I hope
Yes.
in the comments, I hope you enjoy it tonight. Before we leave, I am going to let you know Monday. Let me put this up because Monday the fellas are going
Yes.
to be on. They are going to
Yes.
be doing another man talk Monday. Hold on, let me get this off. Another man talk Monday. It's going to be a real good conversation, something really deep. Enough is enough. They're going to be talking about
Yes.
how we're having our young being violated. So please make sure. I think this is the only show where it is going to be okay to drop some F-bombs without having to pay.
Yes.
So please
Yes.
make sure you all join us this Monday at, I think it's 6:05. They go on every single Monday, but if you don't miss any other one, please make sure you join us this Monday. Mike, Trevor, Wayne, and Kev, they are going to be on. They always
Yes.
give sections. So please make sure you join us. This is going to be a really good one that you will not want to miss, because this is something that really needs to be talked about inside of our culture, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
So make sure you join us for this, all righty? So before we
And
sign off, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, Nini, uh, just talking about the episode that's going to happen this coming Monday for Man Talk Monday. That link that I sent you, and I said, call me if you. I don't know if you opened the link or not, but I know the guy. Open the link.
Okay,
I know the guy.
I'm
Open
gonna open
it.
it
Just
as soon as
read the story. when I say I know this man, like I know this man.
I'm gonna
I'm
look
gonna
at
be
it as
on.
soon as we get off. Thank you. I'm
I'm gonna
sorry.
be on Man Talk Monday. I'm gonna be right there on the. I'm gonna be. I don't need to be on the panel, but I will be right there for Man Talk Monday. Trust me.
Okay, I'm gonna look
Great
at this link as soon as
conversation.
we get out here. Wow. All right, ladies. Before we sign out, any closing words you all want to give? This was a great conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like we went to Vagina University. We definitely like hit a lot of we hit a lot of talking points, from childbirth to cancer to um, sex, reproduction, gynecology. Like, I don't think anybody expected us to kind of hit all of those points. But definitely looking forward to the conversation on Monday. That is a topic that I hold very close to my heart. And I'm just looking forward to us continuing to have that dialogue for people to really do their part and stop the violence. But thank you, Nini, again, for always bringing these great topics. I remember when we talked about it in the chat, like, oh, we just need to talk about vaginas because it's a faux pas. Nobody wants to talk about it. You're taught to be ashamed of it. Like, there's not enough of the conversations happening in the Black community, so we have charged ourselves with being the change that we're looking for. And so whatever's missing, Straight Talk Society is going to fill that void. So just be good to yourselves, women out there, but most importantly, be good to your vagina.
Oh, be good to your vagina. All right, Shaka, go ahead with your closing words.
I agree with Dr. Mia on every aspect of Monday's conversation with the Man Talk Monday. I also can agree, ladies, be good to your vagina, and also, like I always say, communicate. Communication is key. Whether you're talking to her or you're talking to him, make sure you mean what you say and you say what you mean. Ask the questions. There's nothing wrong with having that connection with that special someone and you all sit down and talk about it. There's nothing wrong with when you're in the middle of your session with that person or even with yourself if you're in the middle of that session. Figure out what you like and what you don't like. Communicate what you like and what you don't like because at the end of the day, like I said, communication is key. Mean what you say what you mean.
Absolutely. I know your thing is always communication is key. So I was waiting to see how you were gonna fit that into this topic.
You see, because it don't matter. You gotta talk about whether you're talking to your kids, whether you're talking to your mama now, whether you're talking to your homegirl, whether you're talking to your vagina. Talk to her because she talk back. Okay, she tell you what she want. She tell you what she need. We just gonna be listening. Listen, open your mind, man. Open your mind.
And she tells you what she doesn't like. So we need to
Right,
listen to
right, right. Hello, hello.
All righty. Thank you, Shaka. Thank you, Dr. Mia, for joining me. I'm gonna go ahead and put
Oh,
you all backstage so I can sign out. Go ahead. You wanna say something? Go
yes,
ahead.
thank you to Dr. Mia. Thank you to you, Nini. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you to everybody listening. We appreciate y'all. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all I got. Okay.
All right. And I'm gonna look at that link as soon as I get off of here. All
Yes,
right.
text
So
me. I know you are. Text me.
I
Okay.
will. All righty. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. That will conclude another episode of Pour Your Heart Out, Black Women's Honest Conversations. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This was a really fun episode. We were able to educate you, and we were also able to share some of our own personal experiences while having a little bit of fun. So that's what we are all about. So just remember, your truth matters. What you feel matters. Always continue to speak your truth and always pour your heart out. Until next time, cheers.
And that's a wrap for another episode of Pour Your Heart Out, Black Women's Honest Conversations.